Imagine a system so perfectly designed that it convinces you to celebrate your own captivity. A machine that makes you believe climbing the ladder means freedom, while every rung you reach only tightens the chains around your ankles. That system is the middle-class trap, and it wasn't built by accident. It was engineered by governments over decades, using financial tricks so subtle, so embedded in the fabric of daily life, that most people never even realize they're being played. The middle class isn't a destination, it's a holding pattern, a carefully constructed prison where the walls are painted to look like opportunity. You work harder, earn more, buy bigger houses, lease newer cars, send your kids to better schools, and somehow you're always one paycheck away from disaster. That's not a bug in the system, that's the feature. Because a middle class that's constantly striving, constantly spending, constantly borrowing is a middle class that's generating wealth for everyone except themselves. Here's what they don't teach you in economics class. The middle class was never meant to be permanent. It was designed as a pressure valve, a way to keep the masses content while systematically draining their wealth upward. And the tricks they use to maintain this balance are older than you think, refined over generations, and more powerful today than they've ever been. Let's start with the foundation of the trap, the mortgage. In the 1930s, the government didn't create the 30-year mortgage to help families own homes. They created it to turn home ownership into a lifetime subscription service. Before that, people saved up, bought land, and built what they could afford. The mortgage changed everything. Suddenly, you could have the house today and pay 3 times its value over 3 decades. Politicians called it the American dream. Banks called it the greatest wealth transfer mechanism ever invented. Think about it. A house that costs $200,000 becomes a $600,000 liability over 30 years. That extra $400,000 doesn't disappear. It flows directly into the financial system, paid by families who believe they're building wealth when they're actually funding someone else's empire. The government backs these mortgages, making them risk-free for lenders while ensuring that ordinary families stay locked in debt for the most productive decades of their lives. But the mortgage is just the beginning. The real genius lies in how governments convinced the middle class to fund their own exploitation through something they call retirement planning. The 401k system, introduced in the 1970s, was sold as a way to take control of your financial future. The reality is more sinister. It was a way to shift the burden of retirement from corporations and governments onto individual workers while simultaneously feeding trillions of dollars into Wall Street. Here's how the trick works. You contribute money every paycheck to a retirement account. That money gets invested in funds managed by financial firms who collect fees whether you make money or lose it. The government gives you a tax deduction today, but taxes you when you withdraw the money decades later, usually at higher rates. Meanwhile, your contributions create a massive pool of capital that investment firms use to generate profits for their wealthy clients. You're not building wealth. You're providing cheap capital to people who already have wealth. And then there's the education trap, perhaps the most insidious trick of all. Governments convinced entire generations that college was the path to prosperity, then systematically defunded public universities to force families into debt. Student loans became the new mortgage, except these loans follow you to the grave. You can't discharge them in bankruptcy, you can't escape them through hardship. They grow with compound interest while you spend the first decade of your career paying them off instead of building wealth. The brilliance of the student loan system is that it creates a class of highly educated workers who are too indebted to take risks. They can't start businesses because they're drowning in monthly payments. They can't invest in assets because every dollar goes to servicing debt. They become perfect employees, desperate for steady paychecks, willing to accept lower wages because they have no choice. The government calls this investing in human capital. What it really creates is intellectual wage slavery. Part E. But perhaps the most sophisticated trick is how governments use inflation as a hidden tax while convincing the middle class it's a sign of a healthy economy. Every year, your dollars lose purchasing power. Your salary might go up 3%, but everything you need to buy goes up 5%. That gap is a wealth transfer from your pocket to asset holders, from savers to borrowers, from the middle class to the financial elite. The government loves inflation because it reduces the real value of their debt while increasing tax revenues through bracket creep. Your income pushes you into higher tax brackets, even though your purchasing power hasn't increased. Meanwhile, the wealthy, who hold assets that appreciate with inflation, get richer while the middle class gets poorer in real terms. Politicians call this economic growth. What it actually represents is the systematic erosion of middle-class wealth. These aren't separate problems. They're interconnected pieces of a machine designed to keep you running on a treadmill that speeds up every year while the destination stays exactly the same distance away. The mortgage keeps you tied to monthly payments. The retirement system locks up your money for decades. Student loans burden your most productive years. And inflation ensures that even if you play the game perfectly, you're always falling behind. The middle class trap works because it feels like progress. Works because it feels like progress. You get promoted, you buy a bigger house, you lease a better car, and you feel like you're winning. But every upgrade comes with bigger payments, higher insurance, more maintenance, additional fees. The lifestyle inflation that comes with each raise ensures you never actually accumulate wealth. You're making more money but saving less. You're climbing the ladder, but the ground keeps sinking beneath you. The government has perfected this illusion through something they call progressive taxation, but it's really a trap designed to punish advancement. When you get that promotion or start that side business, suddenly you're paying higher tax rates on every additional dollar you earn. The more successful you become within the middle class range, the more the system takes from you. It's designed to keep you in that sweet spot where you're productive enough to generate tax revenue, but never wealthy enough to escape the system entirely. Meanwhile, the truly wealthy play by completely different rules. They don't earn salaries that get taxed at ordinary income rates. They structure their wealth through capital gains, which are taxed at lower rates, or they borrow against their assets and never trigger taxable events at all. The tax code is written to favor asset holders over wage earners, to benefit passive income over active work. The middle-class worker pays 30% on their paycheck, while the billionaire pays 15% on their investment returns if they pay anything at all. But the most devastating trick is how governments destroyed the purchasing power of middle-class savings through monetary policy. When central banks print money to fund government spending, they're essentially taxing everyone who holds cash. Your savings account earning 1% interest loses value when inflation runs at 4%. The difference is a wealth transfer from savers to debtors, from the prudent to the reckless, from you to the government that's spending money it doesn't have. This is why the middle class can never get ahead by saving money in traditional accounts. The system is designed to punish savers and reward borrowers. Banks pay you almost nothing on deposits while charging substantial rates on loans. They take your money, lend it out at higher rates, and keep the difference. Your savings become their profit margins, while inflation eats away at whatever you've managed to accumulate. The healthcare trap represents another layer of this systematic wealth extraction. Governments created employer-based health insurance during World War II as a way around wage controls, tying your medical coverage to your job. This wasn't designed for your benefit. It was designed to make you dependent on employment, to reduce your ability to start businesses or negotiate better working conditions. You can't leave your job because you'll lose your health insurance. You can't take entrepreneurial risks because one medical emergency could bankrupt you. The result is a workforce that's trapped in corporate employment, dependent on benefits that should be portable, locked into systems that limit their freedom to pursue better opportunities. The government calls this employer-provided benefits. What it really creates is economic bondage disguised as security. The middle-class trap is real, and understanding it is the first step toward escaping it. Every mortgage payment, every retirement contribution, every tax bracket you climb into has been carefully engineered to keep you productive but never truly free. The system depends on your participation, your belief that working harder will eventually set you free. But history shows us that freedom comes from recognizing the game, not from playing it better. If this changed how you see your financial future, hit subscribe. The truth is out there, and I'll keep showing you where to find it.